Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Maths My Way webinar. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Ciara Walsh, and I am a commissioning editor on the primary team at Folens, and it has been an absolute pleasure to work on the Maths My Way programme over the last year or so with a wonderful team of authors, two of which are joining me this evening and will be telling you more about the programme. So I am joined by Patrick Neary, who is the series editor and co-author of First and Second Class, and Elaine Dillon, who is the author of Senior Infants. And you're going to hear more from both of them shortly. But before we get into that, just to let you know, if you have any questions throughout the course of the webinar this evening, feel free to just drop them into the chat box. We'll see them there. Anything I can quickly reply to in the background, I will. And then we'll have a proper Q&A session at the end where I can put questions to Patrick and Elaine. So just to give you all a very quick overview of the programme components and what is included in Maths My Way before we get into all the detail. We have Maths My Way for junior infants to second class launching for you this year, and we'll have third to sixth class coming along around this time next year. And the programme components themselves, as you can see here, we've got a student book for every class level. We also have a number practice book for infants. Then we have a whole suite of digital resources, including teaching slides to anchor your lessons. You've got videos, you've got games, you've got lots of different interactivities. And then we also have teachers' guides for every class level and online printables to accompany the programme as well. So without further ado, I am going to hand over to Patrick and Elaine. They are going to take you through the programme, give you a bit more detail about it. And as I said, don't forget to pop in any questions you have as we go.
Thanks a million, Ciara. I'm just going to share my screen now. Okay, so you'll see on this screen, we have one of our lovely Maths My Way characters. So this is Wind. And these characters are used throughout the series to make Maths My Way more engaging, and it's one of the real child-friendly features that we included in the program. So to start, I'm going to briefly go through the new curriculum and why we created Maths My Way. And I know some of you will have had your training from IDGE already, and some people will be still waiting on it. So it'll it'll make more sense once you've had that training, I guess. The series was written by a team of really experienced teachers who have expertise in the area of maths education. You'll see the new curriculum book on the screen there, and everyone should have this book in their school now. But while this came only to schools this year, the first research reports for this curriculum were published back in 2014. And this and the other reports that have followed have certainly shaped my understanding of how children best learn maths and how it is best to teach maths. The reports that led into this curriculum were really important to me when I was writing my thesis as part of my MEd in Maths Education DCU. So while this is a new curriculum and the final books have just arrived in schools, there's been a huge amount of work going on in the background for years. And it's great to see the final curriculum published and it being implemented from next year. As we know, we have the familiarization period this year, implementation next year, and then embedding after that. So as the authoring team for Maths My Way, we designed the series to support teachers in bringing this new curriculum to life. And throughout the whole authoring process, the material that we wrote went through extensive teacher review. We wanted to make sure that while we're bringing the new curriculum to life, that the teachers who will be using this program are happy with what we've written, and that there is the teacher's voice is there as well. In the new curriculum, we have learning outcomes, and they'll describe expected learning in maths They're broad and they describe learning across a 2-year band. In the curriculum, the outcomes are grounded in the sentence that you see on the screen through appropriately playful and engaging learning experiences. This was really important to us when we were writing Maths My Way. It's important to mention here that playful and engaging doesn't just relate to games or what we might traditionally consider fun, but it also relates to rich tasks and problems that really engage children and grab their attention. The curriculum aims to help children see the beauty, challenge, and the power of maths, and this was very important to us in writing Maths My Way. Anyone who has had their training will be very familiar with this visual on the screen. This is the elements of the new curriculum. And it's really that shift from not just focusing on what children learn in maths, but also focusing on how they learn. So the 4 elements of the new curriculum describe how children learn maths, and the 4 elements are understanding and connecting, reasoning, communicating, and applying and problem solving. These focus on how children should learn maths and are central to maths learning. In our previous curriculum, we had the skills, mathematical skills that were at the start of each class level. These were similar to some of the things you find in the elements, but in the new curriculum, the elements are front and center. The new curriculum also highlights 5 key pedagogical practices that should inform teachers' everyday decision making about maths lessons. These are dynamic and interconnected. They really work together. So, for example, maths talk doesn't happen in isolation. It happens as part of your maths lesson, and it's connected to all of the other practices. In Maths My Way, we have designed engaging learning experiences to reflect this interconnectedness and to really embed these practices in everyday teaching and learning. Okay, so I'm going to pass over to Elaine now, and she's going to go through the Maths My Way components and looking at the teaching slides, first of all, for infants.
Thanks, Patrick. So what I'm going to talk about here is our teaching slides, and to give you a little bit of background information for that, one of the things that was really central to us when we were developing a program for infants was that the role of play in children's mathematical learning was at the heart of our decision making. It's something that I was very passionate about, and the team here at Folan's were really passionate to make sure that we created space for that in a program for infants. So with that in line, when we were developing Maths My Way, we wanted to reduce that reliance on the student book so that we could have more space in our classrooms for that hands-on active learning. We're using concrete materials that's play-based, and the children are exploring and playing with their learning. And as a result in that, we also wanted to have a structure that teachers could easily build upon in a way that is flexible and that's something that can be adapted to suit the needs of every single classroom and for the children in their class and what that each class will bring. So we had many great ideas, but we didn't really want to bury them in a teacher book because simply we don't have time to be reading page from cover to cover. So what we decided to do instead was create teaching slides. So teaching slides for the interactive whiteboard, and the idea of these, they will contain some of the information that would be traditionally found in the teacher book or in a student book, and it makes the most use of the interactivity and flexibility that digital kind of offers to us. We'll have a closer look now at the teaching slides. So on the next slide, you will see that there is a slide. The slide anchors each lesson. So there is there's a slide per lesson, and there's a set of slides per unit, and the slides anchor each lesson, providing a learning pathway that links on hands-on learning, digital resources and book content. As I said, there's one set of slides for each lesson, which have a clear learning focus that's linked to the learning outcomes of the primary mathematics curriculum. There's also a very handy little guide of maybe what kind of resources you're going to need to help you with this lesson. And then as we move through them, there's a lot of different type of I suppose, material that you find on these slides. For example, there'll be lots of ideas for playful, engaging learning experiences, like the one before showing the dice game. This one more of an open-ended task, so that idea of a low threshold, high ceiling task, allowing the children to be creative and show their learning in different ways. There's also lots of stimuli for discussion, so lots of this idea of using your math size. Where can you find 5? What does 5 look like? These might even prompt you to do particular activities in your own class, like finding sets of 5 or going on investigations of what 5 looks like. We also have lots of lovely math size posters throughout the different units, which really give rise to lots of lovely prompt for maths talk. And again, things like allowing the children to explain what they see, what do you notice, what do you wonder about the picture. In their explanations, a lot of organic math language will come out, and it's a great opportunity for us teachers to extend the children's learning. And then if you go on to the next slide there, you see there's lots of different types of activities, like the odd one out, which really promote critical thinking, allowing the children to reason and justify why they think something's an odd one out. In this particular one, we have lots of lovely examples of models that the children can I suppose they can use and to prompt them with, and then it kind of builds on to like ideas of it building on to 10 frames. On the next slide, then you have ideas where you might get them to like, why are we using 3 counters and 2 yellow counters here? And the children are making connections about what they see, trying to move from that the visual representation and into the pictorial representation, and then eventually they're moving on to that abstract representation of their maths learning. Right.
Thanks, Elaine. So similar to infants, we have the slides for first and second class as well, and these anchor each lesson. So for every lesson you go to teach, you start with the teaching slides, and just like in infants, these provide a pathway that help the children work towards achieving the learning outcome. This approach is unique to Maths My Way and was designed with both students and teachers in mind. As Elaine mentioned, for students, it means that our textbook pages are less busy and more inviting. So things like maths talk prompts, worked examples, strategies, and teaching points are placed as front of class material on the slides, allowing our student books to have larger and more inviting workspaces. For teachers, similar to as Elaine said, when you open your lesson slides, you are ready to teach. Our author team is made up of teachers, and we know how busy classrooms are and how busy all of you are. You won't always have time to read a long lesson plan before your lesson, and with Maths My Way, the slides are there to guide you through your lesson in real time. Placing some activities on the slides and not in the book also gives you a bit of flexibility, and you'll have the agency to adapt, supplement, or change lessons. Like in infants, the opening slide for each lesson provides all the information that you need for the lesson. The learning focus, the strand and strand unit, a handy reference to the physical resources that we suggest to support the lesson. So in this lesson, for example, you need post-it notes or squares of paper, geoboards, and rubber bands. The slides support the development of mathematical language. So in this lesson, for example, the terms half, 2 equal parts, the same size are introduced, and these are explained with the help of a video. There's a wealth of ideas for playful and engaging learning experiences. As Elaine said, playfulness and encouraging playfulness was so important to the whole team in developing this program. In this task, for example, the children are asked to fold a square of paper in half in as many different ways as they can. And this activity, this hands-on activity, will lead directly into then the student book activity that the children will complete afterwards. In first and second class as well, maths talk prompts are used throughout the slides and encourage students to share their ideas, their reasoning, and the strategies that they've come up with. In this example, students are asked to consider how food could be shared equally with a friend. The slides also help us to scaffold the children's learning by demonstrating different models to children. And again, putting this on the slide instead of in the student book means we can give it much more space, and also means we can make it interactive and use polypad interactives so that it's interactive and can be made more it can be made clearer to the children with the use of the interactive activities. In this lesson, the children are adding 36 and 27, and the strategy of partitioning is demonstrated with a number line. The first and second class slides, as I mentioned, have polypad built into them. Some of you might be familiar with the polypad. It was previously called Mathagon, and now it has been renamed Amplify. So on this slide, you can see that the white box has the touch symbol up in the top corner, which means that this part of the slide is interactive, and it's been built in polypad, which means that everything is interactive. In this example, like, you can add marbles, you can move them around, you can delete marbles. So with this one slide, you can change the number of marbles there. You can raise the level of the activity to challenge students in your class, or you can reduce the number of marbles to support children who are finding the concept difficult. Throughout first and second class, whatever interactive resources you need will be ready at your fingertips in the slide, and we have all of the tools that the polypad has to offer to make these really interactive. In this lesson, as you see there, there's huge scope for manipulating the marbles in different ways and challenging everyone in the class. Extensions are also really important to us. So at the end of each lesson, there's an extension activity, and this is to really challenge every child in your class. So in this one, for example, the children are asked to make different shapes on a geoboard, use an elastic band to split them in half, and remember, the two halves must be equal. So in the main body of the lesson, the children were looking at partitioning squares in half, whereas this more open-ended challenge stretches the children's thinking as they're looking at different shapes and how it could be split in half. And our real aim is to challenge the children who are finished early, rather than just providing more of the same work for them to complete. So pass back to Elaine to look at the student book in infants.
So in the student books in infants, they're designed a little bit differently from the books in first and second, and they're designed purposely to allow a lot of space for that hands-on active learning that we described. As I said, play is at the central of all of our conversations when we were developing these books and this program for infants. In the junior infants, there's going to be 2 pages per unit, and in the senior infants, there's between 2 and 4 pages per unit, simply depending on what the topic is. Sometimes it's maths trails, sometimes it's leaving space for them to record their mathematical learning. And they are purposely designed to consolidate and practice the learning that's been going on in the slides. But at the end of the day, they are also flexible for the teacher to use at their own will. You know, the more familiar you become with it, you might decide, we give you a suggested time when to use these pages, but you might decide, I'm going to actually use these pages maybe at the start of the week to see where my kids are, or maybe go somewhere in the middle to check in on their learning, or you might keep them till the end of the week to do some consolidation practice. But it's completely flexible, and that's probably one of the key words there for you, that it is flexible to suit you and your needs of your classroom, and it is designed to really support an environment in the infant classrooms that is hands-on. Children are working with a concrete material, and that they are playing around with mathematics. These are just some of the example of the pages in the junior infant book. So as Patrick mentioned, they are very clear and open. They're not overcrowded. This is a lovely example of a more open-ended task where children are allowed to colour the bracelets depending on their patterns, and like that completely depends on what level your children are at. They could just be doing simple A-B patterns like red, blue, red, blue. You know, some children will be ready to do more complex patterns, might be doing an ABC pattern, red, blue, yellow, or maybe, you know, it could be AAB, like a red, red, blue, red, red, blue. It's up to the children to showcase their learning and take that learning to where they feel where they're able to go for it. And it's also this here, you can also use this as a springboard then to do other activities within your own classroom. Could it be like, oh, Elaine, can you extend Patrick's pattern here? Or, can you copy Patrick's pattern that he has created? So it's allowing children to buy into their own learning and share their learning with others. And it's just a lovely springboard to develop lovely dispositions around mathematics. On the next page then is another example of a more, I suppose, something you're not used to maybe seeing in your maths book. It's more open-ended, and this is in the senior infants when it comes to money. And it's purposely designed in this way to allow that flexibility of where your children are at in your class at the particular time when you're teaching your money strand. And it also allows for that child-led play, like it allows the children to buy into their mathematics, and they're leading the play in terms of maybe what they want to be buying in their shop, and then the different amounts. Again, you as a teacher are scaffolding that learning, and you're, guiding them forward, and depending on where they're at in terms of their learning journey. And of course, like, you might think, oh, I don't want to be drawing all of these, but there's other ways to do it. They could be using stickers. They could be getting pictures from magazines, cuts out, and sticking them onto their book. It is completely open and flexible for that. In the next slide, then, we do have your more traditional pages too, where that count, add, write, the children be able to see in the visuals and recognizing between the amounts, and then being able to learn the scaffolds onto making the addition stories. And if we keep moving forward there's another example of more an open-ended page again, where this example is it's a little moment of collecting a very simple form of data through a game. The children playing a game of rock, paper, scissors. They are collecting the scores as they go. It's kind of showing maths in the real world. What kind of data are we collecting here, and why would we be collecting this data? To see who the winner is by the end of the game. And then on the next page, then we have another example. It's just a simple bingo game. I think this is the start of senior infants, maybe at this stage. And again, it's a lovely opportunity for you to check in at their number reversals at this stage. There is 1 to 5, but of course you can gauge the children where they're at, what numbers you would like to revise with them, and playing the game with them and getting them to really there's a more buy-in to them when they've chosen the numbers that they want to play with on their bingo sheet. And then I think if there's another page there, this is a lovely example of just really simple drawing where they've drawn some number eyes. I actually did this one particularly with my class this year, and I was really amazed by just how simple it was, but how much learning that we got from it, and how much discussion talking about it. In what way did you make 8? Some of them were just completely random with the way they displaced their eyes, but some of them, they were like, I did 4 on top, 4 on the bottom, or some of them were able to recognize I've done it in 2s, show me the pattern of 2. So they're making those connections, but it's also an opportunity for your teachers to see where they're at. Are they able to make those connections? And then showing each other or learning, so you can really scaffold each other on from that one. And then I think this is another lovely just example of, I suppose, as Patrick mentioned, our slide shows those given lovely models of different ways to do things. And then sometimes in our book, we're practicing some of those skills. And this is a very simple one where they're adding on 1 more, and then they're writing the new amount. And of course, you can extend these very easily. Then if kids are ready, they're ready. You'll be able to get them to write the addition stories for these. But sometimes that's just keeping it very simple and allowing them to visually see what they're actually doing in order to add on. It's a very important skill that they need lots of practice with, and it helps them have that strong foundation to move forward. And then I think this is an example of another one of the patterns, growing patterns, shrinking patterns. Again, something in your book that, you can then take more alive with. You can get them, how could you represent that? Using something in your classroom. They could show you then using cubes, or it could be simple of building the little towers, or it could be the towers growing or the towers shrinking. So they allowing the children to you're kind of going between the both of them, but it's a very inviting page for them to really think about how is this actually what am I actually doing here, and can they explain it to you? And I think that's one of the key things that I wanted to create space for when we were making these infant books, is allowing children to talk about the mathematics. It's not just very good simply doing a page of maths and that's that. It's about actually getting them to explain, what have you done here? Why, can you tell me, or tell a friend? Can you explain a little bit further? So they're getting into that idea of reasoning with you and justifying their answers, and all of those little skills that really help them as they move up through the class groups. And again, more traditional page count add write, but there's still at the same time they're having a look at the page, you know, and they are extracting the information from it and writing it into a number story format. And I think Patrick is, yes, there we're on to a little example of junior and senior infants both have what's called the practice book, and the practice book is solely focuses on number practice. So you're looking at, you know, helping children with reading, writing, and understanding numbers. So really consolidation of number. And this is an example from the junior infants, goes for each of the numbers. Again, it allows you as a teacher then to choose when you're doing the numbers, how much time you want to spend on the numbers. Do they need more practice on the numbers? It also is a very like this could be a book could be easily completed in class, or you know, if it's something that you send books home, it's also very flexible for that purpose as well. Okay, thanks, Patrick.
So we're going to have a look at the first and second class books now, and these play a greater role really in first and second class as the children's reading and writing skills have developed. So there are 32 units in each book, and this is designed with 1 unit per week. So when we were developing this program, you know, we're all teachers, the team who put this together, and we know how important it is for a series to have a clear structure that is predictable and easy to follow. We also know how important it is to actually be able to complete a book in a busy academic year. In each unit, there are 4 core lessons. Each of these has 1 book page and a set of teaching slides. And there's also 2 practice pages at the end of each unit. So in total, there are 6 pages for each unit. The order of the units in first and second class are very closely aligned. You can see here that like the algebra units jump out there in orange, the measures units are in green, the data units are in yellow, and we've designed this specifically to support multi-grade classrooms, so that when you're teaching, if you're teaching first and second class, that time is coming up in both classes at the same time. The Maths My Way textbooks is in first and second class work hand in hand with the teaching slides. So as we said earlier, you begin each lesson with the slides, and as you see here, you're prompted from the slides to complete the textbook activities at intervals during the lesson. So you see an example of a slide there in the middle, and it's 90, and to complete that activity, you have that in the book as well, and it means that you have that, you know, on your whiteboard. You can annotate over the slides for correcting or for exploring some of the examples with the whole class after the children have completed the activity. The books provide interactive space for children to keep a record of their learning experiences. So that's what we wanted the books to focus on, for the children to have a sense of ownership of them, that they're their books full of their maths ideas, learning, the activities they completed. Everything else that's about what the teacher is doing is on the slide. This is an example of a shape and space activity where the children cut out shapes, they sort them using the sorting circle there, and then at the end of the activity they're asked to stick one of their ways of sorting the shapes into the book. So it's a lovely record of what they did, and a great assessment record for the teacher. Here's another page with where we have the interactive, like the 10 frame at the top of the page, so that the children can have their counters, and they're using the 10 frame actually on the page. So you're not slobbering with finding 10 frames for them. It's all it's there to go for you. And throughout the pages, we've tried to make them really child friendly. You'll see here, there's an example of a game down in the blue box to encourage that playfulness. This is the game Find My Shape, working on place value and base 10. And big workspaces. So we've really wanted to focus on the children as mathematicians, that there's space for them to record their thinking, to explore different ways of solving problems, and to really have that record of their learning in the book. At the bottom of each page, you'll find a really helpful information for the teacher. So we have the strand and strand unit again. We have the lesson focus that you'd also seen at the start on the first slide of the lesson. Details of the accompanying teaching slides. So when you flick through the book, you know exactly which set you're going for. A self-assessment icon. And again, the resources that are needed for a particular lesson. So it's all there at the bottom of the page for you, so that if you're flicking through the book, trying to figure out what you're doing next week, that you have that information to hand, to make your planning as seamless as possible. As mentioned earlier, at the end of each unit in first and second class, there are 2 practice pages, and these can be used for consolidation, for extra practice, for assessment, or for homework as well, if you want to, if you send the book home. I know a lot of schools there's the big debate at the minute about homework and whether a lot of schools, some schools are choosing to get rid of homework altogether, but these are here for you if that is something that you're that will be useful for you. Okay, so we're going to look at some of the digital resources now.
Okay, so in addition to the teaching slides and the student books, Maths My Way also includes a digital suite of resources that provide stimuli, modelling and fluency practice. So we're going to have a little closer look at some of them here right now. So the first one, there's an example of lots of videos to show maths in the real world. This one is from number 5, so I think Patrick's going to be able to play that for you. I think there is volume there, but maybe Patrick, you might have a look there. Thanks.
Sorry.
The volume there, just you might just check on that. Sorry, I should have reminded you. But
can you hear us at all?
The sound might need to be reshared, Patrick, I think.
Says it's on. Let's see.
We love a good technical issue in the middle of a webinar.
The one thing we said we kept checking in on. Yeah,
I got it there.
Brilliant.
Yep. I'll fade back into the back.
5. 5.
5 is.
So yeah, and there would be a video then again, of course, for all of the numbers covered. And then this is an example of some number songs to develop number sense in a playful way. So this will be linked into the unit of work for on that particular number. So Patrick, when you're ready.
Speckled frogs sat on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs.
Yum, yum.
One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Then there were 4 green speckled frogs. Glub, glub.
Okay, and then we have lots of number formation videos to support children's number formation. So the writing of each number. This will be something like this for each of the videos, for each of the numbers. And then next we have lots of games to develop fluency and lots of games to help children with practice. So if we look at this little one.
Click the picture that shows 5.
And again, there's lots of activities like the odd one out activities, which really promote critical thinking, getting the children to explain why something is the odd one out. So lots of games like this built in throughout the different units. And then last that we're going to show you right here now is the math size poster. So there's a set of math size posters in various units across the infant programs. And again, there's some suggested questions that we'll be listening to now here in a minute, but again, they're not exhausted, and allowing the children to, I love that phrase, what do you notice? Is there anything you wonder about it? And allowing them to explore it with you. We do use this as part of one of the addition units as well in senior infants. So it has a multi-purpose function, as well as being able to extract as much information from a poster in terms of what we can learn from it. So Patrick, if you just show us there some of the questions.
Where is the bear? Are there more purple flowers or pink flowers? Which flowers are taller, the purple flowers or the pink flowers?
Okay. So at first and second class, we also have a huge amount of digital resources, and they're similar to those found at infant level. So similar to infants, we have videos that show maths in the real world.
Say you want to share a pizza equally between you and a friend. How can you do this? That's right. You can cut the pizza into 2 equal parts. A half is one of 2 equal parts of a whole. Cutting in half means splitting one thing into 2 equal parts. Like this. Or this.
We also have videos to support mathematical modeling. And in this example, you'll see how the concrete resources are brought into the videos as well.
Let's use the column method to solve 39 plus 14. Start by writing 39. 39 has 3 tens and 9 ones.
We have games to develop fluency. So in this example here, this is a bingo game where bingo cards can be printed out, and there are the different question types can be picked, and you can play the game of bingo with your class. So all set up for you. Like infants, we have the Maths Eyes posters to prompt rich maths talk and discussion. So you'll hear a few questions here as well.
What do you notice? How could you sort the gingerbread people into groups? What question would you ask about this picture?
And there's a lovely example of an open question at the end, really giving the children that ownership again. What question would you ask about this picture? So that's an example, I guess, of a low entry, high ceiling task as well, where like I'm sure we'll be amazed with the different things that the children will come up with about this picture that we wouldn't even have thought of. So it's a great chance to see where the children are at with their learning, and a great assessment opportunity for the teachers. With all of our games and interactives, we've built in a share feature. So the share feature will bring up the QR code or the short text code, and this means that it's really easy to share our games and the interactives on children's own devices. So for example, if you have iPads in your class and there's a game that the children have loved playing on the board, then during iPad time they can play that game and get that extra practice on their own devices. These can also be printed, of course, and sent home if you'd like as well. So next, you'll see another one of our lovely maths characters there. Brains comes up throughout the series, and we're going to look at Maths My Way and the primary maths curriculum.
So one of the key pedagogical practices of the new mathematical curriculum is encouraging playfulness, and we carefully designed Maths My Way to support teachers in providing playful learning experiences for every class level. On the teaching slides, there are suggestions for easy to implement playful activities that have been tried and tested with the children. In the student books, we also prompt and support playful learning experiences, which some of these are through game suggestions, some of them providing game boards. We also include a space where appropriate for children to record their play. The teaching notes that accompany the programme will also support teachers in scaffolding children's mathematical learning as they engage in these learning playful activities. The experiences provide opportunities to develop a wide range of mathematical skills, including reasoning, arguing, justifying, problem solving, and communicating. And they support children's evolving understanding of mathematical concepts and the mathematical language that they are using. And all of these experiences have great potential to deepen children's mathematical understanding, and while also developing a productive disposition towards maths, which is one of the other key pedagogical practices of the new primary mathematical curriculum. Now, over to you, Patrick.
So we've designed Maths My Way with problem solving at its core. And rich tasks are used throughout to challenge students at their own level. You'll see some examples there on the screen, and I think this is a great example too, to showcase those big workspaces that we've included. Engaging in mathematical modelling, so that's children coming up with their own ways to solve problems, is one of the 5 practices, and we've provided these large workspaces to encourage children to model maths in a way that makes sense to them, and in more than one way, so that even if a child solves, say a child solves a problem that maybe then they hear another response that a different child has used, and then they can try out that child's way of doing it, so that there's space there for different models for solving in more than one way, and really developing those modeling skills. In these workspaces, students might draw, write, they might use numbers, or they might use a combination of all these things. It's really important that every child experiences success in the maths classroom. And open workspaces like this value all solution strategies and approaches. The child who draws a solution to the problem it's just as valid as the child who writes a number sentence. That every child's effort is acknowledged, and there's multiple ways to succeed. Throughout the series, there are many different types of rich tasks used. Open-ended tasks are one example, and these are tasks that have many solutions. So with these, language and reading becomes less of a barrier than it would with a traditional word problem. So in a traditional word problem, you read the question, you have to figure out what it's asking, and there's one right answer. Whereas with an open-ended task, students need to understand the context once, but then they'll work on it for quite a while. So they're working on it for longer once they understand it, rather than then just moving on to the next traditional word problem where they have to tackle the literacy challenge again. These tasks like this provide deeper opportunities for deeper engagement with each context that comes up. We also include loads of low entry, high ceiling tasks throughout the series. Similar to open-ended tasks, children will work on these for a sustained period of time. And these are tasks that every child should be able to engage with, but at different levels. So that low entry is that every child can get started, but also that every child can get stuck. So there's challenge built in there, and the children have that sense of curiosity about them with these tasks, sense of wonder. They're pushing themselves, and the teachers can prompt that as well. The important thing with these tasks, again, like with the open-ended tasks, is that everyone's effort is valued. These tasks and the record of the learning that the teachers will have in the book are an excellent form of formative assessment, and a great record for the teachers to show each child's learning journey in the maths classroom.
So as authors, we highly value the role of Maths Talk and the role Maths Talk plays in equipping children with the tools to make their thinking visible. So when we were writing Maths My Way, we placed great focus on designing rich tasks and playful activities that promoted children's mathematical talk. We added lots of maths prompts to the teaching slides for each lesson to help get discussions started in your classrooms and to support classes in making Maths Talk a central part and a routine of every maths lesson. We also provide lots of further suggestions and guidance for teachers and accompanying teacher notes to scaffold children's maths talk. And the thing is about maths talk too, is it's more than just, you know, the key vocabulary words that you might have at the start of every lesson. It is about getting children to explain, you know, their thinking, getting them to tell you like what is it that they see, because by doing that, it allows you as a teacher to kind of get a little insight into about where they're at. Have they any gaps in their learning? Like, is there somewhere that you can bridge them forward? It's a really powerful tool and really helping develop children's mathematical proficiency.
So this slide shows some of the different strategies and models that we've included throughout Maths My Way to support children in developing their number sense. So most of these teachers you'll all already be familiar with, but they're used throughout the program, and they're embedded throughout to help the children think flexibly about number, to help them develop their number sense, and to really make them more flexible thinkers in terms of number. So you'll see the 10 frames, the part all models and number lines. They're used throughout to explain strategies, and then our open workspaces also mean that children can go back to these strategies when they're solving a problem, and they might use some of these strategies to help solve a problem. Throughout, we emphasize the use of concrete resources, and practical hands-on tasks are used consistently. We regularly encourage children to use concrete resources to help them solve different activities in the book.
Okay, so we're going to look at Maths My Way and the support for planning and assessment. And to support teachers in using Maths My Way programme, we wanted to make it as easy as we possibly could for you to complete your recorded preparation. So we designed the planning assessment materials that they are clearly curriculum aligned, they are concise, they're teacher friendly, and they can be edited, which I think is really important, that they have that flexibility for you to work on what it is that your class needs at any particular time. If we look a little bit closer at them, there is a unit plan for every unit that outlines how it is mapped to the primary mathematical curriculum. So it shows you the learning outcomes. It shows you the mathematical concept that it is working towards. It also gives an outline of the key mathematical vocabulary that may arise from that lesson. It'll also have a look at the prior knowledge, and what we mean by this is what the kids may need in order to build upon in terms of the lesson, the work that's being covered in that unit. And then we also cover potential misconceptions, so ideas of some things that kids might find a little bit tricky, or they might need a little bit more explanation on, and these are highlighted per unit in across all of the class levels. And then there is an overview, a weekly overview, a suggested weekly overview that gives you a little insight into each of the lessons. What's the focus of new learning? It kind of highlights that to you. It also shows you the slides that are appropriate for that lesson, and also the pages in the book. And then it also gives you a very quick overview of what is the concrete material that you might need in order to support that learning, that lesson in that particular unit. As well as that, then there is also a one-page document for every lesson, which gives you, I suppose, a little bit further insight into the learning experiences that are covered in that lesson. It also gives you the anticipated student responses. So sometimes that's very handy to be anticipating what do you think the children might achieve here, and they're outlined for you per lesson. It also gives you some of the key questions and maths talk. Again, as I say, it's something that we put a lot of emphasis into, really create rich mathematical discussions in our classroom. So there's lots of examples of them here. It also gives you a little outline of how you might be able to differentiate your work here. So some support for struggling learners, or how you can maybe challenge your more advanced learners within your classroom. And then again, there's additional hands-on activities or games that you may want to use in your own classroom. Again, completely they are additional. You might need to consolidate something, or maybe something you need to explore a little bit further, or you have a little bit of extra time and you want to do another game to do with that particular unit of work. with that in mind then, as we know, assessment of mathematical learning occurs in a continuum, and you can see that little image there that comes from the primary mathematical curriculum. And much of the assessment that we're going to gather for mathematics is going to be informal. And Maths My Way is designed to create rich mathematical moments in your classroom, to provide you as a teacher the opportunity to use various assessment tools to gain deeper insights into the children's level of understanding and thinking. And these insights will best place you as a teacher to guide that learning forward. And in the units, the plan, you will find support to help you with these rich mathematical moments. There's a lot of those key questions. They are perfect, like they're purposely designed to be higher order, they're well crafted, they're open, and they are creating moments for you to dig deep into the children's thinking and be able to see where can you bring their learning forward. And also with that then, you do have opportunities to support more formal assessment events, because Math My Way has included printable assessment. So you can download these, and these are also can be edited to suit you and your class needs. So they can be adapted to individual children in your class, or, you know, it might be edited to suit wherever your class is at any particular time. So therefore that you are really that the maths that the children are working with is it's appropriate to their stage in their mathematical learning journey.
And finally, just going to have briefly mention 3rd to 6th class. So work is already underway on Maths My Way 3rd to 6th class, which will launch, like Ciara said, around this time next year in 2025. And we really looking forward to bringing that to you this time next year. For anyone who is looking for something for 3rd to 6th class right now, actually from 1st to 6th class, last year we brought out my problem solving journal, and both Elaine and myself were authors on that as well, along with Grace Lynch, who's another one of the authors of Maths My Way. The way my problem solving journal works is that there is one problem per week that's aligned to the topics that you'd be covering with your class, no matter what textbook you're using. So there's one topic per week. It's clearly mapped to the main textbooks that are on the market, and it's a great chance to bring in some of the practices for the new curriculum. As we mentioned at the start, the first research reports for this curriculum have been around since 2014, and we were very mindful of that the new curriculum was coming when we were writing this product. You know, it was designed to help teachers move towards the new curriculum. With that, I think we're ready to move on to the Q&A, and we'll bring Ciara back in.
Thanks, Patrick, and thank you, Elaine, as well, particularly for giving such a lovely, clear overview of the programme. And it was great to hear from your perspective the reasoning behind why we've done things a certain way. It was you put it really nicely, better than I ever could have. So thank you both for that. And thank you everyone for your engagement in the chat. It's been really nice. I've just been kind of replying to people as we go. And there's a couple of questions which I'll just kind of go over some of the things I've already replied to, just so everyone has the answers to them. And then there's a couple of things I've said to people I'll address to Elaine and Patrick here at the end as well, because you can kind of elaborate on some of the points. So, and if anyone has any further questions, just drop them in and I'll get to them as we go through. So a couple of times it has come up, and this will be kind of to you, Elaine, more in terms of elaborating on it, about the numbers we go up to in junior and senior infants. So I've kind of replied to say just that we go up to 10 in junior infants, up to 20 in senior infants, but there's lots of flexibility within that. And that's kind of us taking our lead from the curriculum itself. So if you want to elaborate on that a little bit, Elaine.
Yeah, and it's something I suppose we had a lot of discussions about before we designed the program. And yeah, so we are going up to 10 in the junior infants, and then in senior infants we're revising those numbers again, and then they build on from there up to 20. And when we talk about the building on, they're looking at the number, they're looking at the conservation of numbers, so they're looking at what does that look like, what does that number, and looking at the sets of that number. There is a lot of flexibility there too, because the numbers are built into the practice books, as we said. they are units of work in junior infants that are based on the numbers, but there's also there's that practice book, so every teacher, every school is going to take number differently, whether you spend a week on a number or whether you do number 1 and number 2 together. It really is will be back down to the school in terms of what they feel most comfortable with in terms of teaching each of those numbers. But they're supported, if you know what I mean, but at the same time we're not being prescriptive and telling you, this is when you have to do each of these numbers.
Yeah, and I actually think, to add to that as well, one thing we talked about a lot was not putting that ceiling on children in terms of the numbers that they cover. And actually someone did say in the chat as well that they found in the past that aspect of only going to 5 in juniors and only going to 10 in seniors limiting for more able children who are more able numerically. So then that was something we found a lot in our research, talking to infant teachers. The children, particularly after having 2 years in preschool, were more able to go on with the numbers, and the curriculum seems to be reflecting that now. So we have gone with that. Thanks, Elaine, for elaborating on that. A few people asking about kind of 3rd to 6th class, as Patrick has just said. This time next year, hopefully we'll be here talking to you all about 3rd to 6th. We have started work on it. We'll be doing further research on 3rd to 6th over the next couple of months. So if anyone is interested in that, please do get in touch. You can always just email into us at just our info address and say you're interested in research for 3rd to 6th, and we'd be delighted to talk to you. And there is also a problem solving journal there. Now, someone did ask about whether that was linked to the programme. So I did mention, as you touched on, Patrick, as well, it is Patrick and Elaine who worked on problem solving journal along with Grace Lynch, who's another of our authors on Maths My Way. So you'll see a lot of the same features. You'll see Maths Talk, you'll see the extension activities, very similar features that we brought in preemptively into my problem solving journal. And we are going to undertake a mapping of my problem solving journal into the new curriculum, so that it was designed obviously to work with the 99 curriculum as we had it, but looking ahead to the new curriculum. So we will map everything in so that you can easily see how it will work with the new curriculum and indeed with Maths My Way if you are using it. I don't know if either of you guys have anything to add on that front.
No,
okay, let's see what else we have here. Couple of questions about multigrade. So as you touched on, Patrick, 1st and 2nd class are very, very much aligned. So very easy to use in that situation. But if there are 4 classes in one, as I've kind of touched on just in the chat, it was a little bit harder. We did look at that in terms of trying to line everything up, but there's so much early foundational number work to be done in infants that it was very hard to line it up directly with 1st and 2nd. Patrick and Elaine, I know neither of you teach in a multi-grade setting, but if you have any thoughts around that or anything you want to elaborate on.
Yeah, it's like I grew up. I went to a multi-grade school, so I know how challenging it is for teachers. We really focused on aligning the bands that are most commonly found in multi-grade. So most often, I guess you'd find the 1st and 2nd class together. But we do know that there's loads of schools that have 1st, 2nd, 3rd class, or even 4 classes in a room together, and it is very challenging for teachers. I think our format, where we have the slides and the books it's like working hand in hand, but also slightly separate, will help in that you can use different parts from the different sets of slides and then have the different student book activities for the different classes, so that hopefully some whole class teaching could happen with whatever parts of the slides you think would be most suitable, and then you have the book activities for the different levels.
I think the low threshold, high ceiling design really lends itself very well to multi-grade classes as well, because the tasks have been designed to have that low entry point and the higher ceiling. It means the children who are in different classes can work on the same activity as well, which is really nice. And also, as we've mentioned, work has begun on 3rd to 6th class. And again, we are trying to line everything as much as possible, particularly within each pair of classes. So each stage under the curriculum. So 3rd and 4th really closely aligned, 5th and 6th really closely aligned, and then as much alignment as is possible as you go up through all those classes. Okay. What else have we got? Is there a copy of each pupil page within the slides? Yes, there is. So anything from the student book where it's suggested will appear on the slide. So you can use that, a really handy way to show the children what page they're looking for, a prompt for, you know, when the page would fit in, and also really handy if you want to model anything, it's right there on the slide for you. So if you want to do the first one with as the whole class together, it's right there for you. So that's really useful. Will the teaching slides be available to use on the Folans website? That's exactly where they'll be. Folans Online. If any of you use any of our current programs like Opera Loam or Starlight or Explorers, Into Music, any of those, it'll be in the same place. You'll just go in and all your slides will be there ready for you. We have already talked about the numbers. We've talked about problem solving journal. Someone did ask there about, can the games be used on a child's iPad or at home? And I know, Patrick, you touched on that with our new share feature. So just to confirm on that, with the share feature, all children have to do is, if there's a camera on their device, is scan the QR code. If they don't have a camera, there's a little short code that they can enter, and there is no login. So it will bring them straight to the game. So really helpful for, I mean, in an infant or young classroom, getting children to log in is just a bit of a nightmare, as you all know. And also, even just if it'd be your login that you'd be giving them. So a lot of teachers aren't wanting to give their passwords out to children. So just none of that blocker is there anymore. It's straight into the game, and lovely for, you can also print those QR codes out. So if you want to send it home, it's ready to go. Okay, let me just check what else we have. A lot of people asking about the use of the term ones, which, as I've said in the chat, that is the curriculum. So the curriculum have gone with the term ones, so we went with the term ones, which was, funnily enough, that's what I had back in back in the 90s when I was in school. And then I think units kind of became popular again, but ones is what the curriculum has, so that's what we went with. Elaine, you might be able to touch on this, just the inclusion of the concept of halves in junior infants. So I mentioned that fractions now begins in infants, but that we have given a very gentle treatment. So if you want to elaborate on that, please feel free.
Yeah, no, and that's it. Like, it does, I suppose that there's some little changes that we have to become familiar with the curriculum, and anything that's been newly introduced into the infants, it has been done in a very soft approach, but it's done in a way that's trying to make it as real to life to the kids as well. So yeah, you're exploring halves, but it is, as you said, a very gentle approach, and it's based on as real world experiences as we can for the kids to make sense of it, to be able to build upon.
I think sharing, I think, is one of the concepts that's used, isn't it, like between two people. Yes, there will be a recording of the presentation, so if you've missed anything at the beginning, that will all be sent out to everyone afterwards. Do lesson plans include ideas for maths stations to enable playful engagement in maths lessons?
Yes, I'm going to say, yeah, in the infants, that's the way we were designing them, is that in the slides you'll have an example of an activity, but the lesson plans will have extra additional activities, because we know that classes teach in many different ways. So you might have your whole class station, or you might have you might even have another support teacher coming in the infant level for doing station teachings. So the ideas will be there, and then it will be up to you then to pick and choose what suits best for you in your class setting.
Elaine. Sorry, these are all new questions now that I hadn't answered in the chat already. Will there be a hard copy of the teacher's manual? Yes, there will. You will get your hard copy with your lesson plans ready to go in there, because we know, particularly in maths, sometimes it's nice to have that in your hand, particularly for anticipated student responses. If you're kind of looking out for what you want to draw, the learning you want to draw out. Are there parental support materials also? So we are still developing what we will make available to parents, but as we said already, the games can be printed out, the QR codes, if you want to send those home. We also do have a parents area on folens.ie, so we will probably put some of our games up there so the parents can access them at home, and things like little videos that model certain things, like when you get to learning your addition algorithm, and children are practicing that. We have a little video modeling how we do it, as you would have seen a little snippet of earlier, Patrick would have had on his slides. That kind of material we'll make available to parents as well. So as I think everyone knows, there's always that thing of parents saying, well, I learned it this way, and then children are coming home doing it a different way. So, which, and all methods are absolutely valued, but if there are certain algorithms being taught, we'll have little videos for parents, and other little helpful bits to help out at home, and even just little ideas for kind of looking at maths in the world around you and that kind of thing. Okay, are the progression continua referred to at all? Yes, everything that all of our lessons, we use the progression continua to guide. Maybe Elaine or Patrick, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, we worked very closely with the progression continua in writing Maths My Way. So, and the draft documents were available before the final version. So we've been using those consistently to ensure that we're aligned fully to the progression continuum. They were like they really guide everything we did in writing the program, and that's where the elements were brought in as well, because as anyone who's had their training will know, the progression continuum is split up into those 4 elements as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Patrick. Sorry, there's way more questions than I actually anticipated we would have. Thank you, everyone, for this. Is in terms of any more information available for 3rd to 6th class, what we can say for now is that the format will be very similar to 1st and 2nd. So everything you've seen from Patrick this evening about 1st and 2nd, kind of having 4 focus lessons a week, a page for each lesson, practice pages at the end. That format we intend to follow as we go up through 3rd to 6th class. Still have your teaching slides, still have your games, your videos, and so on. We are working on it at the moment, so we'd hope to have samples available that schools can check out kind of in the autumn time. As soon as we do, we will share them, so everyone can have a look. I know people are probably eager to have, in the senior end of the school, to have a look at what's coming for the new curriculum. If we could have it all out for you now, we would. Unfortunately, with a curriculum that was only officially launched in September, we wanted to make it as high quality as we possibly could, and that just would not have been possible in that time frame. So there'll be another few months ahead for us in getting everything as good as it possibly can be. So please do bear with us for that. And I know people are asking there about samples. A problem solving journal, absolutely, they're out there. It launched 2 years ago, so you can get onto folens.ie. Go search for problem solving journal there. The full books are currently available on folens.ie, so you can an ebook version of them, so you can look through. Some sample teaching notes are up there as well, and indeed you can order a physical copy of them from us as well. So get onto customer service or your local sales representative, and they'll look after you for some samples. Let's see just what else we have here. Will the interactive resources be able to use on iPads? Yes, so any games, as we said, can be shared, but the interactive resources like Mathagot, or the Polypad resources as they're now called, they can be used on an iPad. So they can be, every interactive Polypad resource, there's always a little button in the top corner. It's a little P blue logo. It's the new logo they have. It used to be the Mathagon logo. That, if you click that, it'll bring you out into the browser page that has the interactive resources there, and from there you can share them using the share tools within the browser. I think we'll put a little video together on that for people, actually, just to show it's really nice and simple, and then kids can access it via QR code as well, and use it on their iPads, which is really nice, because they're really lovely resources, and it's great for children to be able to interact with them directly. So if you have iPads in the classroom, then why not? Loads of lovely thank yous to pass on to yourself, Elaine and Patrick. People just thanking you and saying it was very informative and so on. Editable planning will be available on Folens online as well, where all the resources are. So that'll be the version that you have in your printed book, printed teacher's book. an editable version will be online. Really great for copying and pasting bits into your own planning documents and editing it as you need to. Will schools get some hard copy samples soon? So if you would like any samples, we have everything is in now in our warehouse. So get in touch with your local sales rep. If you don't know who your local sales rep is, just get onto folans.ie. You can find out there, or just get in touch with customer service here and we'll happily get some samples to you. The books look absolutely fabulous, so I really do encourage people to try and get their hands on some and have a look through them. Someone asked there about the fact that early mathematical activities are no longer part of the curriculum, and asked whether that's under use of number now. Elaine, you might be able to elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, because we went looking for them because it's such a key part of our 1999 curriculum. Yes. And they're in number, but they're also in areas of data and areas of algebra. Like, they're in there, especially if you look at the progression continuum. You're looking at those early stages, the A, B, C's. That has a lot of those early mathematical activities in there. So while they're still there, they're showing you how you're doing these activities. You're building up then for the children in that learning progression in the different strands.
Thanks, Elaine. Sorry, nearly everything was directed at you, Elaine. There's a lot of infant questions. I think I've caught everything. I said there's some lovely thank yous in there as well to Elaine and Patrick. People looking forward to seeing 3rd to 6th, which is great. Hopefully that won't be long coming around either. So listen, thank you everyone who has joined us online this evening, particularly on the Tuesday after a bank holiday weekend. I hope you're all looking forward to your Easter holidays now at this stage, not long to go. And look, any other questions you have, do get in touch with your local sales rep. Get on to folans.ie, where all the books are up on folans.ie now as well. Some of the teaching slides, some sample games, some sample videos, it's all there for you to have a look at. So really do get in touch or with whoever, or get on to folans.ie just to have a look. And thank you all very much.
Thank you.